Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever read a story, just a measly 5 pages long, and found it absolutely haunting you for the rest of your life? Well, today we're grabbing a front row seat at a kind of imaginary masterclass with 12 literary giants to decode the anatomy of a perfect short story. You see, while a novelist has the luxury of time and hundreds of pages to wander around, a short story writer has to work with immense pressure, ruthless selection, and absolute precision to capture our imaginations. All right, so here's our syllabus for today. We're going to explore 5 distinct philosophical pillars of storytelling: the secret to memorable endings, revealing human nature, the art of silence, crafting fear and truth, and finally, making small stories large. Let's dive right in.
Part 1, the secret to memorable endings, and the mechanics of the final sentence. We're kicking things off with the art of the ending. Edgar Allan Poe famously insisted that an ending is never, ever just an afterthought. It's the destination the story is walking toward from the literal first sentence. Every single image, every hidden desire, and every calculated silence has to point directly to this final, lingering impression that you leave with the reader.
Now, building on that, Guy de Maupassant drew a really sharp line between a cheap trick and an earned revelation. Think about it. A cheap twist just changes the facts of the plot, like suddenly dropping the bomb that the villain has an evil twin. That's pure shock value. But an earned twist? That changes the entire meaning of the story retroactively. Maupassant argued that a true ending should actually wound the reader. It needs to expose a deep human weakness, like vanity or pride, that was hiding in plain sight all along. Then you have the writer Saki, who took a slightly more, let's call it, mischievous approach. He noticed that readers actually enjoy moral instruction a whole lot more when it arrives with a wicked smile and a sudden reversal. He absolutely loved letting his readers confidently make the entirely wrong assumption throughout the narrative, only to pull the rug right out from under them at the very last second. The ending, as he'd say, should let the mask bite back. Moving on to Section 2, revealing human nature, and how to show an entire life in just a few pages. Let's see how our masters tackle the human condition with such a tight word count. Okay, so Somerset Maugham pointed out something we all know to be true. Most people are putting on a performance. We all have this carefully constructed mask we wear for the outside world. Well, a short story's true superpower lies in catching the exact, precise moment that performance drops. You absolutely cannot waste precious words explicitly telling your audience someone is vain. Instead, you let them pretend to be super humble at a dinner party, and then you just watch the truth slip out in a single, unguarded remark.
And this perfectly tees up Ernest Hemingway's signature approach, what's often called the iceberg theory. He famously said, "Do not explain the wound, show how the man holds the glass." He relied completely on behavior under pressure to reveal the secrets a character just refuses to admit out loud. If your character is heartbroken, please don't write a whole paragraph explaining their grief. Just show the white of their knuckles as they grip their drink. You gotta let the physical action speak for the invisible pain. Now, in direct contrast to that tightly wound action, Anton Chekhov trusted ordinary, unresolved life. He reminded writers that mixed, totally contradictory feelings are the truest reflection of humanity. Think about it. A doctor can be incredibly kind, yet at the exact same time be entirely exhausted and apathetic to the world. Chekhov urges us not to reduce our characters to a simple moral lesson or some neat little character arc. Instead, give people their full confusion. Because, let's be real, that's exactly what real life looks like. Part 3, the art of silence and the immense power of omission. This is absolutely crucial when you don't have a lot of space. So ambiguity often gets a bad rap as just being careless writing, but when it's designed with precision, it perfectly mirrors how life itself constantly denies us clean answers. It takes a few different forms, too. For Franz Kafka, a lack of explanation creates this suffocating dread, like an unanswered law you simply cannot escape. For Alice Munro, though, ambiguity perfectly captures the selective nature of human memory. It shows how truths hide, shift, and totally distort themselves across decades of a person's life. As Katherine Mansfield suggests, the unsaid word may actually be the most truthful word in the room. Just imagine a quiet dinner table where everyone knows what absolutely cannot be spoken. I mean, that setting holds so much more drama than a direct, loud confession ever could. Sometimes, having characters explicitly state their feelings completely ruins the tension. You really have to trust your reader and let the silence itself carry the emotional weight of the scene. All right, Section 4, crafting fear and truth. Let's look at generating true suspense and unease without relying on cheap jump scares. So, can a story actually frighten you without monsters? Edgar Allan Poe proved that visible danger isn't even required if you have the crushing, overwhelming pressure of a guilty conscience. Think of his classic tale, The Telltale Heart, and that relentless beating under the floorboards. Fear in a short story doesn't need a haunted castle or a shrieking ghost. It really just needs inescapable psychological pressure trapped inside a totally silent room. Now, if traditional terror requires a ghost, a corpse, or a crumbling castle, Kafkaesque terror takes a profoundly different route. Kafka's philosophy was that the most terrifying thing of all is invisible authority and losing your access to meaning. The human mind suffers so much more when it's subjected to a punishment, a closed door, or an unexplained rule, but simply cannot find or understand the reason behind it. It is the pure terror of the unknown bureaucracy. Ryūnosuke Akutagawa takes us even further, showing us that a short story can capture the exact moment these forces literally tear the soul apart. For him, fear peaks when outer horror strips away our self-deceptions, exposing our own moral fractures. The real terror isn't the monster waiting in the dark, right? It's a character discovering that surviving a desperate situation might just cost them their honor, or maybe even their humanity itself.
And finally, part 5, Making Small Stories Large, where we explore scale and lasting value. Jorge Luis Borges believed the secret to scale is definitely not size, but implication. He was an absolute master of turning reality upside down. He suggested that a single, totally harmless object, like a coin, a labyrinth, or a library, can contain an infinity of cosmic patterns. You don't make a story large by cramming in 1,000 different events or characters. You do it by choosing one specific element that opens up far beyond itself. It's like a giant puzzle. So, synthesizing the wisdom of these 12 masters, we've got 5 actionable lessons for you storytellers out there. Earn the ending by planting it early, catch human contradiction under pressure, let the unsaid carry massive weight, frighten through guilt, society, or uncertainty, and finally, suggest a life that continues way beyond the page. These principles are proof that a story doesn't need immense length. It just needs immense consequence. Ultimately, a truly great short story chooses the one thing that makes everything else visible. A writer shouldn't try to explain the whole shebang of life completely. Instead, try to illuminate one single truth that leaves the reader permanently changed. It's literally about lighting one room so effectively and with such vivid clarity that the reader can perfectly imagine the rest of the dark house entirely on their own. So, we leave you with this provocative thought from the masters. What truth is hiding in your very first sentence? Ponder that the next time you sit down to write or even read a short piece of fiction. Remember, the page might physically end, but the implication of the story should stick with you forever. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer, and keep looking for the truth in the details.